So as much as I talk about nakshatras on this channel, it was about time that I actually talked about the nakshatras. And I'm going to start with Ashwini. Okay, now Ashwini is 0 to 13 degrees 20 minutes Aries. Okay, so it's an Aryan nakshatra. It's also said to be a Ketu dominant nakshatra. Now Ketu is the south node. So it's said to be a south node dominant nakshatra, which means it carries qualities of detachment, qualities of transcendence, and qualities that I've observed of the liminal space, neither belonging to one part or the other part. Ketu, the south node, is very much a sort of middle ground type of placement. And that is how a lot of Ketuvians normally are. You know, you'll find that with Ketuvians, in order for them to meet an objective, or have an objective, it's like they have to embody the opposite of that objective in a way. The one this applies to the least, unsurprisingly, is going to be Ashwini, because that's the first Ketuvian sign. Of all the Ketuvian signs, Ashwini tends to be the most cohesive. They tend to know what they want the most, okay? Now, Ashwini, as a lunar mansion, is known as the star of transport. And as such, Ashwini, especially in their early life, they like to get moving as quickly as possible. Like, they don't stop to think. It's not that Ashwinis don't have intelligence. They absolutely do have intelligence. It's just that they don't doubt their intelligence, because they're not busy sitting around thinking about how they're going to move forward. They're not busy pondering. They just do. So people can often make the mistake of thinking that Ashwini doesn't think, or Ashwini doesn't have intellect. Ashwini is actually very, very clever. You have to remember that Ashwini, the sun in exalt, the sun is an exalt in Ashwini. That's the height of reason, the height of reason, the height of vitality, the height of healing. So not only can Ashwinis naturally be very intelligent and naturally be very observant, they can also keep their looks for a long time. Now, Ashwinis are usually quite health conscious. Not all Ashwinis. I'm not saying all Ashwinis are like that, but the ones that I've observed, they can be quite health conscious, on top of having this sort of childlike zest for life. That means a lot of them can keep their looks well into their 40s and 50s. I know of at least one Ashwini son who looks incredibly young. They look younger than me. They're nearly 50, right? So Ashwini can keep their looks for a long time. But also there's something interesting about Ashwini that a lot of people don't know, apart from Claire Nakti, who is a fucking G. But anyway, there is something about Ashwini that I notice a lot of people don't point out. Because Ashwini, as a horse lingam nakshatra, can, often bound out the gate so quickly, so directly. Like when they're younger, it's only a matter of time before they can hit a brick wall and they can become stagnant. Now, stagnancy can be a Ketu thing. I'm not going to lie to you. It can be a Ketu thing. But with Ashwini, it's like they hit the ground so much, like they're going so quickly. They're going so quickly. And suddenly, there comes a time when they can just run out of steam. And sometimes they can struggle to regain the momentum they had when they were younger, because when they were younger, they were just going so quickly, going quickly. And then suddenly they just crash, stop. And they can stay stagnant doing the same thing that they've always done. And the reason for that is because they don't question anything that much before they do something. So when it comes to their character, it's not just their looks that they keep. They also keep a lot of their fundamental qualities that they had when they were younger. They don't change that much. A lot of Ashwinis, unfortunately, as charming as they are, as wonderful as they are, as like so much fun to be around as they are, a lot of them don't change. A lot of them can remain stuck, not only in a childlike state, but their childlike state, because they don't question anything. They just keep doing what they always do. And because they're so charming, They've got that wonderful combination of being able to make something out of nothing and being able to serve others, which can make, those in their company just love them and just fall in love with them completely, like that, those same qualities. On top of like just bounding out the gate, it can make them stuck, and it can leave them without the necessary critique they need to evolve. That's what I've noticed. Even successful Ashwinis, or successful Ashwinis can struggle with this. They can struggle with, remaining the same, like a bit too much, because it's like they used up all their momentum when they were younger. So now they're just plodding along, and that can be a problem. Again, ironically, it's not because they're not making the most out of their lives. That's not true. Ashwini makes the most out of life, but like they tend to do it when they're younger, and it's that character when they're younger that tends to stay with them for the rest of their lives, basically. So yeah, that's one thing about Ashwini. Ashwinis, like Revati, they're very elemental. Like I said, they don't accept like that they can't get what they want, and that doesn't mean that they necessarily violate people's boundaries. It's not like that type of thing. It's a type of thing where if they have a particular ambition that they want to meet, they have a particular thing that they want to do, they're not going to accept that they can't do it. They are going to do everything in their power to be able to do it. They're going to do everything in their power to make whatever they want to happen. And this is where Ashwini's real strength comes in, because Ashwini, once they have an idea in their mind about what they want to do, there is no stopping them. If they have to evolve in order to get what they want, they're going to do that. But that's the only time when they really do evolve and they really do adapt. It's when they have a goal to meet or they have an objective to meet. That's the only time when they really are willing to adapt, is when they want something. But that is a main strength of theirs. The main strength of Ashwini is that when they run, they don't just run in a straight line. They're always looking for the most effective route to travel down. They refuse to be denied, which means that when they're gone, and there's nothing that can stop them. That's a wonderful trait about Ashwini, actually. There is nothing that can stop them. You can't tell them anything. You're not going to dampen their dreams, because they already know exactly what they want. You ain't about to tell Ashwini nothing. Yeah? They already know what they want, and they're going to go after what they want. They don't care what you say. And that's one of the things that I really like and respect about Ashwini. They go for what they want. They don't care what anyone else thinks, really. At the same time, I have to admit, I've also known Ashwini to be surprisingly quite sensitive. When it comes to their ambitions, that's when they don't really care about what people think. But the rest of the time, Ashwinis can be surprisingly sensitive when it comes to literally anything else. If it's anything else other than their desires or their ambitions, they can be surprisingly sensitive and care very deeply about what other people think. To the point where, criticizing Ashwini can be a very dicey move, because it's not that Ashwinis have a bad temper. They don't. A lot of Ashwinis don't have a bad temper. It's just that they can be very rigid and very stubborn when they feel like somebody is criticizing them, because they can get very deeply wounded very quickly when they are criticized on anything other than them going after what they want. If they're ambitious and they have a goal and somebody's criticizing that goal, that's when they don't care. But the rest of the time, criticism of them, they can take it quite hard, right? They can take it quite hard, and that's when they can become quite stubborn. But one thing that's for sure about Ashwini is that they have a very healing presence about them. They have a very almost magical nature about them, but because they're Ketu, it's more grounded. It's not the type of magical energy that carries you away before you can think about it. It's the type of magical energy that gives you just enough of a sense of bliss to really enjoy their energy and, you know, have it heal you from the inside. And yet it's still grounded enough where you're still very firmly in this world. Ashwini doesn't carry you away to another dimension. It gives you that sense of healing and sense of grace and sense of joy right where you're at. And that's something that a lot of Ashwini natives, Sun, Moon, and Lagna have in common. So that was Ashwini. I'm Empress Justice. I'll see you in the next video. Peace and blessings. Bye-bye, my darlings.